I can't believe I'm doing this.
Have to learn to father believed he can save the world.
Hello, children. Oh, it's Max Steel time. For some reason, this year is just going by. I was like, well, we got another couple of weeks before Max Steel comes out. Nope, it's here. So Max Steel, this is the story of Max McGrath, and he comes into these super strength, superpowers. He becomes one of the strongest forces in the universe, and with his alien friend, when they combine, they just become Max Steel. Steel is his alien counterpart, and throughout the movie he battles, which is pretty common, with this whole, you know, what happened to my father, who is my father, you know, self-identity and all those conflicts. And my issue with Max Steel, my first issue with it, was that it's not really a comic book. It's not really a comic book. Max Steel is based on Mattel's character, literally a toy character, and the comic book the story came after the actual toy. Now, usually I wouldn't have a problem with that if they actually made it into more of a comic book series, but they didn't. They made a couple of TV shows, they made a very light comic, and now they're making a movie. So to me, it's kind of like there's no story. We're now getting a story. There's not that great of a backstory. It's just very generic, and now they're getting into the actual movie and actually who he is. A couple of things. One, if you come from the comic books, if you usually like a comic book going into a movie series, that presents a little bit of a problem for you, because I don't have enough of my backstory. I don't have enough of a premise. I don't have enough of a build-up of the character and the arcs and the plots and, you know, the fighting and the who's who. I don't have enough of that. I just get a very generic storyline, a very vague storyline, and that kind of bothers me. So I kind of like a story first and then the action figures later, but I need a story. I need the story. But if you just mainly go into movies not having come from comic books, I don't think this is gonna bother you at all. So that's probably just something for the readers. A couple of things. Ben Winchell, who plays Max, I think he does a decent job of getting into this character. Mind you, again, he's coming from a place of movie first, not a lot of back build-up. So it's he kind of just gets a very fresh take on it. There are some animated series with Max Steel. I don't think he took much from that. I think this is him and his movie alone. I don't think they took a lot from those animated works, which is good, because I think that a lot of the other Max Steel stories were kind of like half done. Just it didn't feel really thought together. It didn't really feel full. Steel is played by Josh Brennan, and he plays the alien, his counterpart, like the second force that is Max Steel combined. That's who Max Steel is. He did an amazing job, because I feel like he really gave us who, you know, this second hero was, and like the second counterpart. He kind of is a sidekick until they come together. So he balanced a lot of comedy, which was good, and he balanced a lot of, like, you know, B-lines, which is fine. I think he did a really good job, though, of just making light of the movie, which he's supposed to do. Again, it didn't feel Marvel, it didn't feel DC. It kind of came off as just a very, I want to say Disney X, you know, like one of those like Disney preschool, not preschool, but like preteen channels where they do like a superhero movie. That's kind of how it came off. It didn't really feel like a movie, if that makes sense. It kind of just felt very TV-ish. Really, the problem with this whole thing is the story. There's really not much of a climax. There's not much of a build-up. There's not much of a good versus evil versus, you know, here's your fight scene, you know, here's this kid and he's got all these issues and he really doesn't know who he is, and then here comes this alien and, you know, he's Max Steel, and then even him going through the coming of his powers and getting comfortable with them, and then just coming to fruition that, look, you're not regular, you're not normal. It never came together. It just felt like a Disney Channel movie with really good budget. That's really what it was. It's kind of sad, because I really wanted to like this movie. That's really what it was. It was a TV movie made with a big budget. which is horrible because it's Max Steel. I really felt like they could have put more writing and just more good storytelling into this movie. They could have just done more with his character, and they could have like fleshed it out and built him up instead of just making it very one note. I don't think it's any of the actors' fault. I think that's just what the writing was. And I think too, when you have writing, it's a very generic storyline. Like this could be Spider-Man. This could be, you know what I mean? It's the whole boy, doesn't know, misses father, doesn't have father's backstory, doesn't know who he is, gets superpowers, chaos commences. That story is very generic. So if you're gonna tell it, you gotta bring a lot of fresh ideas in, and you gotta surround him with a lot of interesting characters. It wasn't done here. They didn't do it, and that's where I think Max Steel falls short, unfortunately, because I was really rooting for them. I figured, look, if you have a chance to make this character and this story interesting, do it. You got a budget, do it now. It didn't come together, and it fell in the writing of the damn thing. But I think the reason for that is it didn't come from a comic, so there's no backstory. There's nowhere to take from this. And they didn't feel like fleshing something out and writing something good for it, so it just came very generic, and it felt very like one note. The original comic, the very basic comic that they did for this back in the 90s, that's what it kind of felt like. It's like a half-assed story, which is sad. All right, anyway, so who's going to see this movie? I think anybody that's into comics, anybody that's into comic books. I really do feel like this isn't for like a Marvel or DC audience. I feel like this is very much a kids movie. So I think parents are going to take the kids to this movie. I think adults are going to see this just because it gives you that feel that it's a comic book movie. But honestly, it's not in the DC or the Marvel universe. So please do not get yourself set up for that. You will be disappointed. On a scale of 1, I'm going to go to 1 to 10 instead of 1 to 5 from now on. So on a scale of 1 to 10 Duffys, where am I going with this? Who is going to watch? Where does this movie fall? I'm going to say it's like a 6. I'm going to say it's a 6. It's a decent time if you want to take a small child or some like kids there. Maybe the elementary age children will enjoy it, but I just feel like for a hardcore comic book fan, you're kind of gonna be disappointed and you're not gonna want to go there. So that's who I think is gonna see this. It's not for comic book fans, it's not for diehards, it's really for kids and families and like the preteens. Those are gonna want to see it. I feel like when the comic book people go in to see this movie, they're going to be slightly disappointed. All right, you guys, so let me know if you're going to see it, and let me know when you do. It comes out this weekend. Friday starts the screenings. It's called The Greatest Show on Earth. Live long and prosper. Tell you guys later. Bye. Poke. I wanted to like it. Just couldn't. Flat.